Welcome, everyone, to the NoDQ.com live recap of Money in the Bank 2025. I will also be giving my thoughts tonight on the Worlds Collide premium live event. Two big shows took place in Los Angeles, California, or Inglewood. The first one was at the Kia Forum down the street from the Intuit Dome, where Money in the Bank took place. Let's talk about the shows. Worlds Collide was WWE and AAA. I thought it was a very good show overall. It was a different atmosphere from your typical WWE show. We had Rey Mysterio, who is still injured, making a special appearance. You had the officials from both companies in the ring for the opening ceremony. We had the Mexican national anthem and the American national anthem. Lillian Garcia was doing the singing, and also she announced the ring introductions for the show. They had the green, white, and red ring ropes. Conan was out there on commentary with Corey Graves. I will say this about Conan. He's a legend. I thought he did bring something to the table when he was talking about the wrestlers on the AAA roster and providing some history, telling the stories. That did help. The only thing about Conan is that his voice sounded very weak. He didn't have like the loudness that the WWE announcers typically have. And I think that maybe hurt the show just a little bit. Corey Graves, though, was absolutely fantastic. It really felt like he did his homework and knew the stories of the wrestlers and was able to call the action effectively. Props to Corey Graves. He really stepped it up, and I think he was able to bring about as much out of Conan as possible, and it was solid. It was a solid commentary team. Now, we had 5 matches on the show. First match was really good. 6-man tag team match. Fun one to start the show. It was LWO versus Octagon Jr., Aereo Star, and Mr. Iguana. I have to say, watching this, Mr. Iguana had to be the highlight of this match and one of the highlights of this entire show. Like, he was the standout here. I feel like we will be seeing more of Mr. Iguana in this new era of AAA, and I could see him doing WWE shows, like probably NXT, and maybe we'll see him on Raw or SmackDown one of these days. He was really over, and the fan feedback I've seen on social media, people were loving the act. It might be a novelty thing. It might be like a Danhausen type of character, or Santino, as Jerry points out. But it was fun. He's like a green gold dust with his attire. Anyways, this was a fun match to open up the show, and Octagon pinned Dorado with a moonsault fallaway slam. And then after the match, Dominic Mysterio, who was at ringside, did not like the fact that Octagon and Rey Mysterio were friends. So things got heated, and a match was set up for Money in the Bank. We had a 5th match added to Money in the Bank at the last minute. Dominic Mysterio versus Octagon Jr. And we'll talk about that more in just a few moments. Shout out to Oofman, who sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Oof. Says, I'm here to hear Aaron call both CM Punk and Roman Reigns bitches. They are, but we'll talk about that later. They are 100% total first-class bitches. Screw them both for not coming out during the Money in the Bank match. But again, I'll save that for when we get to the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Thank you, Oof. I appreciate it. They are bitches. All right. We had Stephanie Vaquer and Lola Vice. I can't even pronounce the name of their opponents here, but we had a tag team match. It was all right. It was a very standard match, probably the weakest match of the night, either show. It really wasn't much of a match. It was very basic. I think maybe you didn't want to do too much with Stephanie in there, considering she was in the Money in the Bank ladder match. The highlight was probably Stephanie and Lola doing the double devil's kisses, making Booker T a very jealous man. Stephanie got the win. No surprise here. Not much to say about it. Third match, Legado del Fantasma versus the son of Dr. Wagner Jr., Pagano. I'm not sure how to pronounce a lot of these names, so I apologize. And Psycho Clown. I can pronounce that one. Another solid match. Fun 6-man tag team match. Santos got the win with the Phantom Driver. It was good. And then the fourth match was Ethan Page defending the NXT title against Javon Evans, Rey Fenix, and Laredo Kid. I know for me, Javon Evans was probably the highlight of this match. The dude is amazing. Very athletically gifted. He was doing so many crazy things. The airtime he gets with his moves. He's just a natural at wrestling. He is really fun to watch, and I expect big things out of this guy. He's something special. He really stands out, and it's hard in this era to really stand out, and Javon is one of those guys that does. This was a very good match here. I enjoyed it. Of course, some people might say, who the hell is Javon Evans? But he's in NXT. He's a newcomer. So, of course, you're not really going to know who the guy is because he's a newbie. But I think there are big things in his future. So, anyways, Evans did take out Laredo Kid with a springboard cutter, but then Page threw Evans out of the ring and basically stole the pin, hit the twisted grin, retained his title. I enjoyed it. It was fun. And then the final match was Vikingo defending the Mega Championship against Chad Gable. Really good match here. Maybe even a great match. It was a hell of a main event. It went on for quite a bit. Gable was taking a lot of brutal bumps in this one. And he was really out there putting on a top-level performance. And Vikingo doing some of his flashy stuff. I've seen him wrestle a few times in AEW, so I know he's capable of some insane moves, and he definitely did a few of them in this match. He gave Gable a Mexican destroyer on the ring apron, which looked brutal. And then Gable busted out an awesome bomb from Mike Awesome. And he also pulled out a table and did a moonsault, putting Vikingo through the table outside of the ring. He put on the ankle lock, but Vikingo got out of that. And then Vikingo won the match with the 630 splash. I'm happy for Gable that he got a main event on a WWE show. And they drew a pretty big crowd for this one. The crowd was really strong for this, although there was one point where they were chanting, "We want tables." I think it was during the four-way, and Conan is like, why would they chant that during a match like this? Which I'm with him on that one. It was very random. Why would you chant "We want tables" when there's a match where you don't need tables? Like, you have the four guys doing a lot of stuff, and it's fun to watch. You don't really need the tables. But there you go. The fans love their tables. All in all, it was a very strong show, and it was a different kind of a vibe from your usual WWE show. I thought it was very good. I would probably go with an 8 out of 10. Strong pay-per-view and something different. There was a lot of Spanish speaking on the show. You had your video packages. They were talking in Spanish. They were showing footage from the 1994 Worlds Collide, which was one of the most important events of the 90s, because that event really opened the door for a lot of wrestlers in the United States. Like, that introduced a new audience to Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero and a lot of people. That exposure led a lot of those guys to end up in WCW. And then, of course, they would end up in WWE as well. So it was a big deal at the time. Very solid product. I don't know if I would watch AAA on a regular basis because of this, but if WWE does another one of these joint shows, I'll definitely check it out. Now, let's get to Money in the Bank. Down the road, or across the parking lot, as they like to say. Alexa Bliss versus Roxanne Perez versus Rhea Ripley versus Giulia versus Naomi versus Stephanie Vaquer. Winner gets that guaranteed title match anytime, any place over the next year. I will say this. I was a little disappointed in this match. I just feel like it didn't have the highlight reel of some previous Money in the Bank matches, despite the star power. Maybe I set my expectations too high, but I felt like there was a lack of big, innovative moves in this match. I really don't remember much about this match. I know there was one point where Rhea Ripley got buried under a pile of ladders, but we've seen that on a regular basis. Like, it happens quite often. They did the Devil's Kiss on the ladder, which, I mean, we all knew this one was coming. Like, this was very predictable. Even though we haven't seen it in a ladder match since Stephanie is new, it was still something. Yeah, they're going to do the Devil's Kiss on the ladder. I figured that one would happen. And everybody got some time to shine in this one. Naomi, though, ultimately won the match, climbed the ladder. I think we all pretty much expected Naomi to win this one. Now, the other thing about this match, too, I'm not a fan of when they do these over choreographed spots. Like, there was one where, you have the 2 ladder bridges, and then they did the double code red, and they're trying to, sync it up to happen at the same time. I don't like that. It just looks too choreographed to me. The ladder match should not have choreographed moments like this. It should be more chaotic. So that's just my own opinion on it. I thought the match was good, but not at the level I was hoping for. So it was good, not great. Next up, we had Dominic Mysterio versus Octagon Jr. It was basically a TV match. It was fine. This was just a little addition to the show, although I will say it wasn't needed. WWE really stretched out this show, and we'll talk more about that in a few moments. But yeah, Octagon Jr. got in some offense. I would have liked to have seen Mr. Iguana in this match. Like, that would have been more fun. But they went with Octagon Jr., and Octagon did get in some offense, but ultimately Dominic retained with some interference. Liv Morgan providing a distraction. Dominic capitalized and got the win. Shout out to Building Nexus, who sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Building Nexus says, do you think WWE thought Naomi would turn out this good? I think a lot of people saw big things in Naomi, and that's why they ultimately brought her back. Remember, her and Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné walked out on WWE, and WWE did end up bringing her back to the company. The heel turn was needed for a long time, though. I think that was really the key. I think we all knew, WWE included, that Naomi had some real potential, but that whole glow gimmick, being the baby face, it ran its course years ago. And I kept arguing that she needed to join the bloodline. I said this 3-4 years ago. She needed that heel turn back then. But yeah, I'm glad that she's finally getting this big push, winning Money in the Bank. Well deserved from her. Let's move on here. We had the match between Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch. If Becky won, Lyra would have to raise her hand. And then if Lyra won, Becky could no longer challenge Lyra for the IC title. It was a good match. I feel like the crowd is still not fully behind Lyra. They were chanting, "Let's go Becky," and Becky sucks. They were doing the dueling chants for Becky. They were more into Becky than Lyra, it seems. Lyra was going right after Becky, but Becky, of course, was able to get the upper hand. She's the veteran, and she kept hitting her big moves. Avalanche, manhandle slam. Lyra kept kicking out of these moves. And then Becky gave her a manhandle slam on the floor. They kept talking about how Becky was desperate. But then Lyra laid her out with a Nightwing on the floor. Both of them barely beat the 10 count because everybody beats the 10 count. Nobody gets counted out and fails to beat the 10 count. It's like Sami Zayn hitting the Blue Thunder Bomb. Somebody's almost always going to kick out. Actually, I think there's a greater success of Zayn winning with the Blue Thunder Bomb than a wrestler failing to beat the 10 count. I can't remember the last time somebody actually failed to beat the 10 count. But anyways, they continued. Lyra went for a pin. Becky reversed it and then grabbed the tights and got the 1-2-3 victory. So Becky is the champion, and I'm foolish to go against the betting odds. I can tell you this. After watching this show, I need to stop going against the betting odds. The betting odds have been on point as of late. So I don't know if somebody out there has some inside information, but they've been very accurate. After the match was over, Lyra did do the right thing per the stipulation. She raised Becky's hand, but then Becky had to keep on going. She wanted her hand raised in all four corners, and then she wanted the title put around her waist by Lyra. Lyra did that, but she finally had enough. She suplexed Becky, took her out with the Nightwing, and I guess got a little bit of payback. No Bayley on this show. Maybe Bayley shows up on Raw or something, but one would think they're going to do Bayley versus Becky at Evolution. I mean, that would be a great place to do that match. I expect Becky versus Bayley, and Bayley should be returning at any time. Just wasn't this show. Next up, we had the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Solo Sikoa versus LA Knight versus Penta versus Seth Rollins versus Andrade versus El Grande Americano. Michael Cole was going crazy, saying Americano was pulling double duty, and talked about how Chad Gable had the same arm bandaged up as Americano. That was funny. Everybody was targeting Rollins right off the bat because of what Rollins did on SmackDown. Even Solo Sikoa went after Rollins, but then he was beaten up by LA Knight, Penta, and Andrade. Then we had things breaking down. We had all six men climbing 3 ladders. It got chaotic very quickly. Rollins got the upper hand for a while, and fans were chanting OTC and CM Punk because they believed in those guys, that they were not bitches and they would actually appear and prevent Rollins from winning Money in the Bank. Then Americano brought out this sponsored ladder. So this was a change. The ladders now have a sponsor, and this was the Fireball brand. Fireball written out on the ladder, and it was a bigger ladder, and the announcers made a really a significant deal out of this, talking about it. And then we had a ladder bridge set up, and Penta gave Americano a Canadian destroyer on the ladder. That was one of the highlights. And by the way, in addition to that, the turnbuckle is sponsored by, they didn't do a good enough job with the sponsor for this one because I can't remember who the sponsor was. Somebody in the chat room help me. Turnbuckle sponsor. I know the Fireball was the ladder sponsor, and that got the most attention. So then Americano had put the plate in his mask. It was 7-Eleven, by the way. Yeah, I completely blanked on that one. 7-Eleven was the turnbuckle sponsor. So Gable put that foreign object or plate, whatever you want to call it, in his mask, and then he used a ladder to get back into the ring and used another ladder to pull himself or push himself from the corner to the ladder that was set up, and he headbutted Penta. Penta was really over, by the way. I mean, it was Los Angeles. The crowd really wanted Penta to win this one. He was one of the most over wrestlers on either show, for that matter. Yeah, he got knocked off, but then LA Knight suplexed Americano off the ladder, and then Seth Rollins came in. He called out Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. So Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed ran down, attacked everybody, cleared the ring, but then Jacob Fatu and JC Mateo came out there to seemingly help Solo Sikoa. They got the upper hand on Breaker and Reed, and then Fatu set up the ladder for Solo to climb. Solo was climbing the ladder, and then Fatu grabbed his leg and yelled out, "I hate you, Solo." He pulled him off the ladder, super kicked him, did the moonsault off the top, and then he put he put Solo through another ladder bridge that was set up on the outside, put him through it with the spinning Solo, and then took his leave. And at this point, Seth Rollins came back in, tried to climb the ladder, was stopped by LA Knight, but then Rollins got the upper hand, delivered the stop, and then climbed up, grabbed the briefcase, and despite Rollins getting the upper hand on SmackDown, he still won the Money in the Bank match. Again, I should have went with the betting odds. Rollins was the betting odds favorite. I went against it, and that bit me in the ass. Rollins is your Mr. Money in the Bank. The big story of this match, though, was the Jacob Fatu turn against Solo Sikoa. And he's another over guy. Him and Penta might have been the most over guys on this entire show. Hamp says, he sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Hamp. I appreciate it. Did the Fatu thing seem like a heel turn or face? Definitely a face turn. 100% a face turn. And, Solo is hated. It was absolutely a face turn. Yes, Sami Zayn, Aleister Black are also bitches. No Roman Reigns, no CM Punk. They were making such a big deal. Seth Rollins cannot win Money in the Bank. Well, where were they? Why were they not out there? The problem is you have to have it make sense. Where were these guys? Like, they just allowed Seth Rollins to win this after making such a big deal about how he could not win this, and it would hurt WWE for him to win it. Yeah, I didn't like the execution of this. Seth Rollins winning, they can use that for the main event storylines, and who knows, he might cash in on Gunther versus Jey Uso. People have been speculating on that. But yeah, I don't know. I think they missed the boat on LA Knight. And I really feel like this was it. This was LA Knight's last chance. 3-time loser. is LA Knight. So that's a bummer. I think they should have pulled the trigger on Knight this year, but they didn't do it. Rollins wins. Match was good, but again, I don't think it was a great Money in the Bank, and it dragged on. That last part of the match with Braun Breaker and Reed coming out there, and then the solo angle, and then Rollins still wins after all that. Like, it just went on and on. Way too long, and the entrances took forever too. It just dragged out so much. I don't know if it was because of Worlds Collide, but this Money in the Bank show felt longer than most WWE premium live events. And it did go on for quite a bit. It went on almost 3.5 hours for a 5-match show. Too long. I call out AEW when their shows are too long. This one was too long. And I think Worlds Collide being on earlier, if you watched both shows, that's almost 6 hours of wrestling right there, or roughly 6 hours in one show or one day. And that's a lot. Too much. With all the ads and everything and dragging out the entrances, it hurt the flow of the show for me personally. And usually I'm okay with the ads and having some breathing time between matches, but this time I think they went a bit overboard. Now, Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Building Nexus says, do you think Seth Rollins will turn into what he hated? Well, I think he already is. The heel turn was done, and he's out there saying, I haven't changed, but, he's using the same tactics that Roman Reigns did to be the world champion for all those years. So yes, he has turned into what he hated. And that's ultimately what a heel does. An effective heel will go against what they said they would do. They're hypocrites. Shanti sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Shanti. I appreciate it. Shanti said, currently at the post show and had Cody bump me out of the way. Worth it, LOL. You're at the post show? I hope you're spreading the word about no DQ, Shanti. But anyways, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it very much, Shanti. And if you got to rub shoulders with Cody Rhodes, that's a moment you'll never forget. As Weird Al Yankovic would say, that is your lame claim to fame. You got bumped out of the way by Cody Rhodes. All right, let's get to the main event. Talk about Snoozeville in the beginning. So we had John Cena and Logan Paul versus Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. And I have to tell you, the first 5 minutes of this match was Boresville. Like, it was just going on and on. They were beating down Jey Uso. Crowd was chanting, "You can't wrestle." Yes, he can at John Cena. They were chanting, "We want truth." They still wanted our truth. Then Cena and Logan started to have issues. They were miscommunicating, blind tagging each other, and that allowed Jey to tag in Cody. Cody came in, and at one point, Logan accidentally hit Cena with a splash. Logan tried to regain the upper hand for his team, but then he reached out for his drone. That allowed Cody to take advantage. And then they were brawling on the outside. Cena tried to put Cody through a table, the announce table with the AA, but then Jey speared Cena on the table. Then Logan Paul did an Asai moonsault from the second rope, putting Jey through the table. So things were not looking too good for Cena and Jey. Jey was out of the equation. But then after Cena struck Cody Rhodes with the championship, a mystery man came into the ring and attacked John Cena. And that man was R-Truth. R-Truth is back. 1 week after announcing he was departing WWE, he is back. R-Truth, I guess he's Ron Killings now. People sent me links to his WWE merchandise page, and he's got the Ron Killings shirt. So he's back. WWE heard the feedback, and they brought him back, and it actually worked for the storyline. R-Truth gets his revenge on John Cena, and Cody pins John Cena with the Crossroads. There you go. Big surprise here. I don't think anybody predicted R-Truth to make his return on this show. I certainly wasn't expecting that. Yeah, there you go. R-Truth is back. This was a fun ending to the show. This was definitely the right call to put this on the end with R-Truth. Or Ron Killings, whatever he's going to be known as now. And all in all, I really enjoyed the ending of the show. The match itself was kind of meh, but I did like the end. MJ the Dark Horse sent in a $2 super chat, says, Jey Uso's hype is dying, less people yeeting tonight. I didn't really notice that. I think he got a great reaction. But then again, a lot of people got some really strong reactions on this show. I don't feel like the hype is dying if he got like one not so great reaction. And I don't really think he got a bad reaction on this show. I certainly didn't notice it until you brought it up. But thank you for the super chat, MJ, and I'll be sure to keep an eye out on Jay's reactions. And if you turn out to be right, I'll have to make sure I give you credit for noticing it first. Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you. Says, when do you think they do Cody versus John Cena 2? That's an interesting question because they did announce Night of Champions and the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments, with the winners of each tournament getting a SummerSlam title match. One of two things that means. Either Cody Rhodes faces Cena at Night of Champions, or Cody wins the tournament and faces John Cena at SummerSlam. I could see them going either way at this point. Maybe they do it at Night of Champions, but does Cody win the title back then, or do they do another screw job? I don't know. This is one area where I'm not really sure where they're going for this. But yeah, there's a couple of possibilities. I would expect it to either be, especially after Cody pins Cena, it's either Night of Champions or Cody wins the tournament and faces Cena at SummerSlam. Shout out to This Guy Experience, who sent in a $2 super chat. This guy says, Naomi better not cash in on the IC or US title. Just don't. I don't think she will. I fully expect her to cash in on Tiffany Stratton. I would be surprised if that doesn't happen. Will she be the first unsuccessful cash in? That remains to be seen, but I do think she will cash in on the world champion. That was a mistake to have Austin Theory do that. That made him look really weak. I don't think that'll happen with Naomi. Hamp Connell sent in a $2 super chat, says TKO was counting on saving that money, damn it. Well, see, they're probably thinking, well, wait a minute. If we bring back R-Truth, we could sell more merchandise now. We can sell Ron Killings merchandise. Considering all the outrage, people will be like, oh my God, he's back. I got to buy the new R-Truth t-shirt. So they're probably just thinking, well, we can get more merchandise money by bringing him back. So yeah, win-win for WWE, I guess. You fire him, people are pissed, just bring him back and sell more merchandise. There you go. They figured out how to make that profit. The Shanti sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Shanti. Says, Jay's hype is not dying. I was here and the arena was insane for Jey Uso. Well, there you go. Directly from somebody who was at the show, Jey Uso, he's still the man. And I don't think people will turn against him anytime soon. To me, he's a made man. The crowd just loves him. He's like Jeff Hardy. And even with all of Jeff Hardy's mistakes, which I don't think Jey will make, Jeff Hardy remained one of the most over guys in the history of WWE. Jey Uso, to me, is the modern day Jeff Hardy. Like, he's always going to be over with the fans. So thank you for that, Shanti. Poor Carlito. He got no love, so I don't think he's coming back. All in all, I thought Money in the Bank was pretty good. I think I would go 7 out of 10. A little disappointed, but overall, still a very good show. Nice surprise at the end with the return of R-Truth / Ron Killings. I think maybe Worlds Collide wrestling-wise was a slightly better show. But Money in the Bank did have a lot of memorable moments as well. Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, could they do CM Punk versus John Cena at SummerSlam without the title? They could, but I feel like Punk still has unfinished business with Rollins, which is why I'm really surprised there was no CM Punk on this show. You would think that he would want to get his revenge on Rollins. I will say I'm intrigued about where this is all going for SummerSlam. I don't really think there's a clear picture at this point, but you have to think that at some point we will get CM Punk versus John Cena. It's just a matter of how they get to it. But I really feel like Punk and Rollins have to resolve their storyline first before we can get to that one. Shout out to Hamp. Hamp sent in $2. Thank you, Hamp. Says, maybe if they release Karrion Kross, he'll get over. The funny thing is, though, Kross is getting good reactions. He does wrestle on Main Event, and every time he appears on camera, he gets a pop. His entrance gets a pop. They brought back his classic entrance with Scarlett, and he's getting good reactions now. It's so bizarre to me. WWE was pushing him, and he wasn't really getting good reactions. And then he's barely on TV, and now the fans are getting behind him. It's crazy. I would be shocked if he leaves at this point. Like, the fans are actually finally getting into him. All you got to do is let him go out there and cut a promo. And I think he'll finally get over. Like, what he's been doing the last couple months, it's resonating with people. But he needs to do it on TV, on Raw, in front of that big audience. That's what we need. That's what he needs. All right, guys, that'll wrap it up for this live recap. Thank you all for your comments, and thank you to everybody that super chatted. I hope you enjoyed the recap of Money in the Bank and Worlds Collide. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and stay tuned to the No DQ YouTube channel. We got more content coming up. A new episode of What? Wrestling's Hottest Audacious Takes. That will be up shortly. And then we got more roundtable episodes coming. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest news and rumors. Say yes to No DQ, and I will see you all next time.